let's get going here, guys. My name is Logan. So thank you for attending, of course. Dave, thank you for putting this on, as well as Chris.
Chris, thanks for hosting.
Duran,
Chris and the OTMC.
So yeah, hope you guys all enjoyed the food, the beverages, and had some good chat. So we're gonna get into the presentation, and I'll just dive in right quick if I can. Wait, hold on.
Oh no.
Is this gonna work? It should work. Hold on. There we go. Right. Okay, so we're going to talk about the untapped lever for maximizing organic traffic potential in 2023. This is kind of a unique to me, very personal to me topic in the field of SEO. I assume most of you are at least in SEO or at least familiar with SEO. I mean, it was on the Meetup group, so if you're not in SEO, that's okay. As long as you have a passive interest in SEO, that's fine. There may be a couple of topics that I'll gloss over that will be, I guess, like topics that like only an SEO would know. So if you don't know these topics, it's fine. I'm gonna try to stay as high level as possible. I'm gonna try to like balance it out. Anyway. So that's what it'll consist of, and if you don't know something, feel free to ask after, or yeah, I mean, there's a lot of SEOs who know this stuff. Again, I'm going to try to stay as high level as possible and stop where needed. So, all right, so about me. I've been in digital marketing for about 12 years doing SEO. I've led programs at agencies, affiliate companies, and most recently specializing in B2B SaaS companies. My stint recently is building a pretty cool program at a unicorn fintech company. And I am a self-proclaimed adrenaline junkie. I love adrenaline, and grew up in Las Vegas, lived in the Philippines, lived in Salt Lake City, lived in San Francisco, and now I'm living La Vida Miami. So and a few things that you can talk to me about outside of SEO, just if you're curious. You can talk to me about kiteboarding, wakeboarding, tropical fruit, Mormons, why pineapple should never be allowed on pizza, Joe Rogan, and why Epstein really did kill himself. I'm no stranger to controversy. So, all right. So Tapalti. Actually, before I'm gonna pause right here before I get into Tapalti. Can I get like a quick sort of polling the room? Is anybody here, who here by raise of hands is either owning paid search campaigns or at least involved in paid search campaigns? Okay, so quite a few. Anybody here owning email campaigns or at least involved in email campaigns? And then social media people, and then conversion rate optimization. That's the tricky one. Anybody? All right, cool. So there's something that all of these programs have in common that you don't typically find in the SEO world, or at least you do find it, but maybe you don't know that you found it. So I come from Tapalti. That's my most recent stint. Was there from their Series C to Series F. Joined in 2019, right here around that that purple line there. Following that, helped build Tapalti's program up. So the traffic rose by, last I checked, which is pretty recently, about 15x, which is pretty good. And then the SQLs, if you don't know what SaaS terms are, we have a lot of like acronyms. SQLs stands for Sales Qualified Leads. Just so you guys know, a lot of people look at traffic as a vanity metric. Like, hey, you got traffic, but did you get sales and leads? Leads also grew by about 5x, probably has exceeded 5x since I left. So also did, these are just smaller campaigns that I did more on the side, more or less. Koala, Approve.com, and Bolster. Done quite a few other campaigns as well, so let's get into the good stuff. So right now I'm going to do some generalization, and we have a lot of SEO people in the room, so as I generalize, there may be some, again, I'm no stranger to controversy, so I'm going to get into some things that people may disagree with. That's okay. But this is based on my experience and what I've measured. which is that we have what's called growth levers. And in my opinion, technical is kind of an overtapped growth lever. That doesn't mean that it's a bad growth lever. Technical SEO is absolutely valuable. It's critical. If you don't have your technical SEO dialed in, you won't even get indexed, let alone rank for keywords. So I can't understate the value of technical SEO, but at the same time, I think that it's a little bit overtapped. Content, in my opinion, is the most powerful growth lever. So almost everything, when you look at that chart of like that nice up and to the right chart, almost all of it was tied to our content strategy. And then we have external links. I think it's a little bit oversold, again, no stranger to controversy. Again, it doesn't mean that it's a bad lever. It's absolutely vital. Just like technical SEO, if you don't have a backlinking campaign or a backlinking strategy or at least a strong backlink profile, then it's going to be, you're going to have a hard time competing, especially on national terms. So, internal links, kind of a cousin or a sister or whatever, brother you want to call it, sibling to external links. Very powerful. There you go. Very powerful. I'm a big believer in internal links, especially since it's something that myself, having worked as an in-house SEO professional, it's something that I can control. If I'm working on a website and I'm asking other people for links, it's a little bit outside of my control. Maybe they'll give me one, maybe they won't. But internal links, if I've got CMS access, I can control it. So again, this is some of the more technical, like higher level SEO stuff. So I hope you guys aren't like rolling your eyes. And definitely feel free to ask myself or a lot of these other very intelligent SEO people in the room. So what's missing? I think that there's an untapped area of SEO that we don't think about, talk about, hear about. And it's something that, circling back to the beginning question, the poll earlier, it's something that I think most digital marketing channels have in common, but you just don't hear very much about in SEO. So it's kind of like a video game. Find that little hidden wall in the video game or the hidden button or lever. That's what I like to think of it as. And this is SEO testing. So that's essentially the growth lever, and we're going to dive in a little bit more into what that means. So if you think about it, going back to paid search, we're testing ad copy. With email campaigns, we're testing subject lines, open rates. With social campaigns, you're also testing the creative. You're trying to figure out what people are going to respond to. There's a lot of testing and a lot of experimentation involved in digital marketing in general. And of course, conversion rate optimization, same thing. You run specific split tests and A/B tests to enhance the conversion rate of people who are landing on your website. So with SEO, again, it's kind of underserved. You don't really hear that much about SEO testing. There's a few reasons for that. I won't get into all of the reasons, but you just don't hear that much about it in the SEO world. And that's something that I've found to be very interesting. So let's talk about what SEO testing is not. It's not a silver bullet. So I'm not here to, preach some sort of magical solution that will solve all of your SEO problems. It's not CRO related, so it's different from conversion rate optimization. When we talk about A/B testing, a lot of people are familiar with, like the traditional A/B test on a landing page. You serve people version A of your website, which is a control page. You serve them. You serve another 50% of the traffic of version B page, which is your variant page. But this is not that. Although you can do a form of A/B testing in the broader context of SEO, it's a more advanced technique. So I'm not going to really touch on that, but there is information about it. So we can touch on that later, or I can help you find more information about that if you like. Just know that this is more advanced when it comes to SEO for some very specific reasons, which also means you can't use these conversion rate optimization tools. If you're familiar with Hotjar, VWO, Crazy Egg, things like that, they don't work for SEO specifically. It's not a substitute. Oops. It's not a substitute for the fundamentals, and it's also not a load of cow manure. So I don't know how to backtrack with this thing, so I'm just going to stay here. But yeah, it's not a substitute for fundamentals, meaning that you can't, you have to still do the things that work in SEO. You still have to have your technical biology. You still have to have content. You still have to have a strong backlink profile, etc. Right? So like, this is a complement to the things that we're doing in SEO. It's not a replacement. And of course, it's not a link tag. So, but does it work? There's a lot of case studies out there on the internet that talk about SEO testing. I think they don't get enough attention personally, but this one's from Search Pilot. It's an 11% traffic lift from basically refreshing the page title, and they found that by updating the page title, and if you don't know what a page title is, it's like when you go to Google, there's like a blue link that you click on. That thing that you click on, that's the blue link, that's the page title. By refreshing that, they've across a group of pages, they found an 11% traffic lift. So another concept in SEO is like content freshness. I think that SEO testing can be a way to also improve content freshness. Trust Radius did another case study. They found a 22% traffic lift from adding list of top and then the category name across their page titles. So again, these are just samples. There's a lot of other case studies out there. And I'm starting with page titles, but in reality, you can do SEO testing on other elements of your page. You can test your content, you can test for featured snippets. There's JavaScript tests that people won't run when they get really advanced and all of that. But there's other things you can test. So back to Jeff Goldblum, you might already be doing SEO tests without even realizing it, if you are working in SEO at the moment. And just before I move on, just to clarify, what I mean by that is that people overcomplicate SEO testing. And so like, this is probably good, I think, information, something that's like a mindset shift for me, that I think is beneficial whether you're doing SEO or not doing SEO, which is that that SEO testing doesn't have to be like this rocket science thing. If you just boil it down to the idea that you have an idea, a hypothesis, and you put it out there, launch it on the website, wait a period of time, and then measure it, that is a test. I think a lot of marketers get so nerdy, myself included, that we think about statistical significance. Well, is it statistically significant? We think about, how do I set it up correctly? We get so in the weeds on this that we think we have to follow a very rigid process to pull out, specific insights. But if you think about it, anytime you're doing something, waiting, and then seeing if that thing works, you're testing. It's experimentation. It's what we all did when we were kids, when we touched the stove and tried to figure out if it was hot. Like this. So testing is something that I think we're all doing, not just in SEO, in life, and in general. We're just not necessarily like thinking of it as testing. So there are advanced techniques. There's A/B split testing, which is an advanced technique. Group testing, bulk experiments, custom experiments, etc. But the most basic technique that we're gonna go through here is time-based testing. This is more simple. So kind of like what I said earlier, which is that this is the process. It's really not that hard to wrap our heads around. One, we have to think of a hypothesis. We have to benchmark our date and or data. So we have to know, like, if we put something out on the website, when did we do it? Because if we need to go back in the future and figure out if it worked, we need to know when it actually went live. And if possible, if there's data that you need to benchmark with it, great. But at the very least, if you can at least benchmark the date or annotate it in analytics, for example, then that's a good thing to do. Wait a period of time, and that's going to depend on your traffic levels and what you can draw from it. And then finally, measure at a future date to see if the thing you did is worthwhile. So that's not much more to it than that. We don't have to overcomplicate it. Yeah, we can overcomplicate it. In the slide earlier, we talked about some advanced tests, but we don't have to overcomplicate it. And again, if we're doing things, even in our careers, it's like if you're doing something, calling a customer, hey, looking for an upsell. Maybe you're looking for an upsell and you have a pitch for that customer. Did it work? Did it not work? That's a test. You're testing your pitch, or a sales pitch, whatever it is. We're testing all the time. So, with simple time-based tests, these are a few that we've ran at Topology specifically. We had a 4-position increase. This was Topology's most valuable keyword, which is AP automation. We were in position 8. This title brought us this title tag. Remember that blue link in Google? By changing that on our website, we went from 8 to 4 with that title tag. And actually, we ended up ranking number 1 for a period of time. I think right now we're in number 2. So it fluctuates, but that was a successful test. Supplier onboarding was another keyword. We had a 6-position increase from position 10 to 4. 8-position increase on notch file format. This was, by the way, there's a ton of traffic on this keyword. A lot of traffic on this keyword. We were in position 9. The new title that we implemented brought us to position 1. 5-position increase on how does PayPal work. And again, we ranked number 1 on PayPal's term here, so that was pretty cool. Not the first time we did it, actually. We did it on a couple other terms. 4-position increase on supplier portals. 4-position increase on Swift payments. 10-position increase on e-procurement. And you can see that e-procurement, we were on page 2, so we're in position 16 with position 6. There's no traffic in position 16. People don't often click on.
So that was the only change you made? No link building,
Right.
no content?
Right.
These are all title backing.
Do these changes occur over time? Like, is it a result of user preferences, or is it right away when you change it?
I love that question. I would love to revisit it. I just want to get through the slides. But I love the question. I definitely want to I love it. So I want to show a few more tests on my site. So this is my website. My domain authority, if you guys know what domain authority is in SEO, is 18. It's not very good. That's 18 out of 100.
And it's
The term SEO title testing, I was hovering down at the bottom of page 1. I wrote a nice piece on SEO title testing. I did it. I was frustrated that I was down on the bottom of page 1 for that term. So I tested my title tag, and I ranked number 1 for SEO title testing, doing a title test for SEO. So that was pretty fun. We have featured snippet testing as well. Remember, we don't have to just test title tags. It's just the easiest thing to wrap our heads around when we're first learning about SEO testing. So featured snippet testing, I acquired a couple featured snippets as well, title tag analysis, and I displaced hrefs for, which keyword was that again? That was SEO testing techniques. It's really blurry, I know you can't read it, but that's the keyword, SEO testing techniques. Tests on gokoala.com. So this is a different website. I won't linger on this. This is just to show you guys a little bit of the process. This was the, this is like the dashboard that I use. So I always benchmark, track, and you want to keep track of your tests, especially if you're doing it at scale, right? Like if you're doing 1 test, great, you don't need this dashboard. But if you are doing 40, 50 tests at a time, like we were doing, you need this dashboard. So we ranked, for example, koala. We outranked the San Diego Zoo for the word koala. And then for timeshare rentals, we ranked number 1 for timeshare rentals, which gave us, that was their most important keyword, by the way. That's what they do. That's like their most coveted keyword as a business. Ranked position 1, which led to a 76% traffic increase. Which means that that's a keyword that drives business, by the way. So it's not like just a vanity keyword. Bottom line, I shit you not, it works. Doesn't work all the time. It's testing, right? Like you can't, I can't come out, stand here and be like, hey, look, all of our tests are magical and it was great. we have a lot of failures. We had a lot of neutral tests that, you know, we changed the title tag or we changed the featured snippet or whatever it was on the page, and it didn't do anything. So I'm showing you like the highlight reel, right? But the point is that, you know, there are successful tests as well, and you can actually layer on top of those successful tests to learn what's working. So I'm not horsing around. The specific tactics and techniques are a deeper rabbit hole, so I'm just going to wrap up with a few final points. There are multiple techniques in SEO testing. The tests we ran at Tipalti are what I call single URL time-based tests. They're not A/B tests. SEO testing is by no means limited to title tags. I kind of brushed on that earlier. Tools are specialized. You can't use CRO tools. And, you know, most importantly, using a dashboard helps you to scale, benchmark, and measure and report on your experience. So that's, again, that dashboard that I use to track everything. And most importantly, it's easier and faster than it sounds. When you're writing a title tag, it's like usually between 55 and 60 characters long, something of that nature. So it's not like you're writing, it's not like you're spending 5 hours to write a 1,000 word blog post and edit it and review it and all that kind of stuff. You're changing a title tag, or sometimes a featured snippet, or sometimes you are doing a whole post. That's a content revamp or a refresh, which if you're measuring your content refreshes, you're testing. So you want to not just set it and forget it and put it out there. You want to measure, did it work?
Didn't you build like a toolkit to do all this?
Yeah, that's what's on the website. So you guys can check out my website if you like. There's the dashboard that I mentioned is for free. So like you can just download it. It's got video instructions. There's a dashboard, and I can't remember what else is in there. But it's a bundle, so you'll get a bundle with all the instructions, and also just free content. I've written a lot about SEO testing and different techniques. So if you're like, hey, I do want to learn the advanced stuff, great. If you're like, hey, I just want an intro, that's fine too. I've got in-depth guides as well as introductory guides. And that's really all I have for you guys. So I think I'll open it up, and if you have specific questions, I want to answer your questions.
So he had a question.
Yeah.
So do you think the performance increase is related to, are you seeing your benefit over time in response to users preferring your title? Or do you think it's AI search engine deciding the title is good enough when you're writing the results?
All right, so just for the beginners or non-SEO people in the room, Google does sometimes switch up the title with like a dynamic title tag. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, no, not even that. Do you think your performance?
I think he's asking about like, well, remember, like there's two scenarios for increased clicks, right? Either the CTR increases or ranking increases, which then increases the CTR. Right. But not both things, right? Either your position increases so you get more clicks, or the CTR increases without the position increase. And I think he's asking which of those
does the user CTR increasing drive it up, or is Google detecting your title change and moving you up right away?
And the ranking, yeah.
It's both.
One is increasing clicks.
Yeah, it's both. It
so
can't
they're
be both.
projecting that it's going to, and they're giving you the benefit before it even happens.
Yeah. So like, the good way of thinking, a helpful way of thinking of it is that like you have CTR, which stands for click-through rate. And then you have the algorithm, which looks for how relevant is this piece of content to the keyword, the specific keyword that a user is typing into Google. And so relevancy and CTR both play a role. I have done tests where I've seen a ranking increase within 24 hours or less. That doesn't happen all the time. It really depends on the crawl frequency and things like that, but that is an indication to me that the relevancy is what ranked the page title meaning that the algorithm noticed that my new title was more relevant to the thing that people were looking for.
Because one of the things I've done to immediately increase ranking was I just put free in my title, and like a couple weeks later, boom, bada bing, you're shooting right up.
And
it kills your CRO, but it's a really good way to rank.
Yeah, and that sounds to me, and I haven't seen the exact, sort of timeline, but that sounds to me like it was probably influenced by click-through rate. So that's why I say both. You can actually make a title that maybe the algorithm doesn't necessarily think is more relevant, but if users start to engage with it more, then Google will pick up on that user activity. And real hardcore SEO nerds probably know about the Yandex update that showed us some insight into the fact, well, I shouldn't say fact, but the very strong hint that Yandex for sure uses user behavior in the algorithm, which means Google most likely uses click-through rate data, like we talked about in the algorithm. So click-through rate data with users engaging more with those titles can be a driver. But even again, if, like I said with that example earlier, if I start seeing my rankings go up and it's only been like a few hours after launching and indexing my page, then that's not really enough time for users to like drive that ranking up, which means that Google's algorithm, the relevancy is what's driving that. So, great question. I know that's a little technical maybe for other people, but
Can you talk about like time frame? Like I think of like what time frame, how long do you feel like your tests usually are? And I'm assuming that the example that you gave, you mentioned that you weren't really doing A/B testing, or you're not doing A/B testing, not SEO testing. You're really just picking a page, changing the title tag, and then that's it. And everyone gets that same title tag, and you're waiting for Google to kind of crawl it, re-index it, and display that. I'm assuming that's what it is, right? That's kind of like what you're talking about.
yes, the only fine point I want to put on that is that you don't have to necessarily wait for Google. You can also submit it in Google Search Console to get it re-indexed faster.
So then, how do you feel of like how do you say just like seasons? Like say if you make a change and I don't know, Black Friday is coming up and you know traffic is coming up, or there's more traffic coming to those pages. Do you feel like seasonality? How do you